This dog. My dog is crazy.
Good old Euro.
He's about to knock over the whole studio. It's like when I say "Hey," I usually
He
say,
thinks it's
oh, I should not have done that because he's going straight to the front door and he's gonna go fucking bark because he thinks that somebody's over. I always say that when somebody comes by the house. I'm
oh
like,
yeah. So he's like getting up. He's like, oh, someone's here.
and then this is going to be forever as we do these podcasts, like because we're doing them when my daughter's sleeping and the dog is barking all the time. So
Real life here, folks.
yeah,
Real life.
let's just get used to it. We're trying to keep it real on this podcast,
That's right. Because we're real people and we're real busy and we're making time to do these because we think it's important. And this is what we feel like is our contribution to raising the vibe, right?
Yeah. So let's get into it. Once again, I'm Joe. This is David. We're talking about frequencies and energy, and specifically the Healy frequency device that David has on right now. Um,
So
there,
go ahead.
what were we listening to today? That we listened to a what do you call it?
It was called Frequencies and Friends. It was just a webinar where they were talking about the new technology that's coming out through the company.
Right. So they were talking about uh, they had talked about a lot of bioenergetic. Can you explain what bioenergetic energy means? Because even I am still.
Yeah, I mean, because I've been using it now for like 2 years, I think that the thing about energy in general is it's hard because there really isn't a language around it. So there is a spiritual language around it, and then there's a scientific language around it. And I think now because we're moving into this scientific and spiritual, uh, like the gap is getting smaller, the language is becoming a little bit clearer. So uh, people will recognize in the spiritual community the aura, and people in the scientific community are calling it a bioenergetic field.
So this phrase is kind of like the quantum physics phrasing for what we're talking
Yes,
about, right? Okay.
yes, that
People will be like, "Oh, I can feel your aura," and now there's actual scientific proof that this exists.
right. And we've known for a long time that the body is emitting radiation. So whether it's infrared radiation, which we cannot see, it's below, they're lower frequencies than we can see. And then there's ultraviolet, which is higher frequencies out there of light that we can't see that are there. We don't emit those, but we emit frequencies that we cannot see. So they have instruments that are able to measure those frequencies coming
Oh,
off our body.
light frequencies?
Well,
Or are you
we
talking about like spectrum, like on the spectrum? Like,
well that is confusing because we have we use frequencies of light and we use frequencies of sound, and we often only talk about the frequencies that we can hear and that we can see. But we know, going to audio engineering school, we know that the human ear can only hear 20 hertz to 20,000 hertz. Beyond that, we know that bats and other animals like dogs can hear higher frequencies, which is why you blow a dog whistle, only dogs hear it, we can't hear it. So we know that there's higher frequencies that other living beings can hear, and we also know that those frequencies are out there because we can scientifically measure them with devices that can go beyond our hearing or below our hearing. Same goes for light waves. There are frequencies beyond the visible light spectrum. So if you look at the visible light spectrum, um, the Roy G. Biv that we're used to, red, orange, yellow, green, indigo, violet, blue. Did I miss blue? Anyway, the visible light spectrum, if you look at the entire chart, is like a tiny slice of hair. Everything else is unseen. So when you go into the visible light spectrum here in the middle, down below is infrared and microwave and radio wave, and then above you have um, ultraviolet and the rays that come from the sun as well as stars are called cosmic rays. So we can also measure those, but we can't see them. So uh, because we've been able to develop all these super sensitive devices to pick up either waves from sound or photon light frequencies, we're able to now measure the energy that our body is giving off because it is very subtle. You know, our eyes don't pick it up. Most people's eyes don't pick it up. And also, um, hearing, you know, as we age, we start to lose frequencies. So I think we learned in school that the best hearing out there is generally speaking, is a 14-year-old girl. She can hear the highest frequencies and the lowest frequencies. I remember that. You could probably look it up. I could be totally wrong, but I feel like it was from
Why a 14?
engineering school that they were trying to get in our head that there are frequencies that we can't hear. You know, when you go and have hearing tests, that's what they're testing you for, frequencies that are on the fringes of our hearing, above 20K and below 20 hertz.
Hmm.
So back to bioenergetic energy. The bioenergetic energy that is coming off of our body can be measured in photons. So there is a whole debate within physics right now, um, whether there is even a division between sound and light. That light and sound are the same on the quantum level. And so even the vocabulary that we have now, that we've had for 100 years, is changing as we speak. So the pool guy's here. Or no, he's checking for bugs. Massey. Um, so we are in this really interesting period where the spiritual community and the scientific community are coming together, and we're trying to develop a new language that makes sense to everybody, because not everybody can go in a cave and meditate for 18 years to have to reach nirvana and an epiphany, or you know, not
Hold on.
everybody can do
Everybody
that.
can, but does everybody want to?
There you go. Um, and I would say the Westerner's mind wants to biohack and get there as fast as possible with doing the least amount of work, right? So we're in an interesting time period, and I think vocabulary is changing. And so this word bioenergetic field and information field are out there. So the idea is that the information field is the field out around me, not my, and then the bioenergetic field is the one literally emitting from my body. So the bioenergetic field that's emitting from my body has the capacity to interact with the information field that is everything else that we would say is reality. Um, and there's a lot of science out there of people saying that thoughts become things, and that our energy has the ability to influence the information field, or communicate, at the very least communicate with the information field that is directly around us. And some people would even say, when you go into meditative states, that there is no limit, that you can have an effect on the entire world if you want to. And then we can talk about even that. There's a very famous scientific experiment that I'm sure a lot of people have heard of, where a group of monks will go to a town and basically just pray and meditate that the crime rate will go down. And every single time they do it, it goes down between 12 and 18%. And that is a huge, huge measuring, like a huge percentage. That's
Yes,
that's something that can be measured.
I've heard of this before. So there are actually numerologist groups that get together on a, I don't know, monthly or annual basis, and they do the same type of thing where they put out that energy towards the world. Probably more. I don't know if they do it in like certain towns or global thing or whatever, but I know that there's groups in different areas, and then they'll do their thing on their local area, but then annually or biannually they'll all communicate and then do it all at the same time.
Right. I mean, a lot of spiritual groups do that, and now a lot of scientific groups are trying to do that, or at least measure the spiritual groups that are doing it.
Well, because then you come into that world of like the 100th monkey theory. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, which actually has been debunked, but
It has
I
been
would.
debunked.
Well, yeah. I mean, yes, it has.
Really?
When you break down the hundredth monkey theory, it's being misquoted. Yeah,
Because the quick
but
story, if nobody's heard of the 100th monkey theory, is basically there were these monkeys living on different islands. The military controlled it. And they went by and they fed them potatoes every day, right? And then one day on one of the islands, one of the monkeys started washing their potatoes before it ate it. And then the next week later, two of them were doing it, and then three of them. Then all of a sudden, after a couple months, the whole island was doing it. But it was only that island. Then all of a sudden, one of the other islands, one of the monkeys started doing it. Da, 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 da. When it reached a certain tipping point on one certain day, all the islands started washing their potatoes before they ate them. So this is debunked. How was this debunked?
I don't remember. But I remember.
It's called the 100th monkey theory, so that may never have happened.
Yeah, we should look that up. We should look it up and why it's been debunked. I think it's just a misquoting of the species of the monkey or something. And you know how, yeah, I don't remember specifically
Okay.
why it was debunked, but I do remember that it was debunked. And I do think that the implication of it was interesting. Like the fact that you've got monkeys on different islands not communicating with each other per se, but how does the washing of the potatoes happen on all the islands? And a lot of the woo woo community or the spiritual community wants to say that that is collective consciousness, where I pick up an idea here in Florida, and you could be there in Rhode Island and pick up on that idea, in the sense that the information field is out there. Once it's out in the information field, anybody on the right vibration or is tuning into that frequency, um, because we're all antennas picking up signals, that they're tuning into that frequency of wash the potato.
Right.
So,
So, I mean, so what I was saying was what you're saying is kind of based on that, and it sounds as though it's kind of true, but
well,
maybe.
yeah, I mean, I think that the scientific community is trying to prove this over and over again. I mean, Einstein was doing it, Tesla was doing it. They were people that were really pioneering just the idea that there were atoms. I don't know if you've seen or read anything about Einstein, but he was basically the first person shouting atoms and molecules from the rooftops to everybody, and he got laughed at constantly. And they didn't have the proper devices to be able to measure his theories, and now we do. So we are now at that point in technology where we're catching up to it. But
Yeah.
obviously, in order to prove something, it does take time. So
So crazy. We like have to see it and touch it and feel it and hear it for it to exist, right? But there's so many things that exist that we don't even know about that are happening to us around us at all times. And if you talk to most people about this, like most people, if you really get into detail about all these things, they'll agree. They'll be like, "Yeah, there was this one time I felt this way, but whatever." But like I said on the last podcast, like people just aren't aware of themselves enough to be sensing everything around them. It's like the more in touch with yourself you get, the more aware you are of the little intricate details of what's happening around you as well. That's why like squirrels and freaking all these other animals outside, like they're so in touch that they know when predators are coming before they're coming and stuff like that.
yeah,
That's
it's funny that you say that, because literally today I was riding my bike and there was a squirrel and like he was on a fence, right? I didn't even know the squirrel was on the fence, and I rode past him, and as soon as I like got, and I'm literally talking, I'm probably 15 feet away from the squirrel, but he like ran, and I didn't even see him, and it's like that's how in tune
He's
things
paying
are
attention to
when
you.
you're in nature,
You're not
because
paying
it's
attention to him.
survival mode.
Yeah. Yeah. If you really like just sit outside in your yard just by yourself with no sound or anything, you see so many things happening. You got like the ants crawling, the birds flying, like all these animals are like talking to each other, the bugs, all this stuff. But most of the time, we just like blast right past it. It's all going on all the time. We're just not aware
Step
of it.
on the ant, chop down the tree,
Yeah.
cover over the river with some dirt, build
Yeah.
a house on top of it.
So what I feel is like this whole thing between what we're talking about with the frequencies is like almost like the number one thing, and what you're talking about with like Einstein within your atoms and like all the little tiny things down to a microscopic, even smaller than that, is what actually runs the world. You know what I'm saying? But we all like think,
Whether we want to believe it or not, it's the
yeah,
truth. We know that now 100% for sure, that when we look down at atoms, that they are 99.9% energy. And the only thing that the building blocks of the entire world is that. So when you are thinking about your body and you are thinking about your cells and your tissues and your organs and your bones, everything is communicating with each other through electricity,
hmm
um, and
that's why
frequencies.
this
And
device I think is very important. It's like it's doing something. It definitely is. We're just here talking about and trying to explain what we feel that it's doing to us, you know, and we hope to have more people on explaining what it's doing to them, and then like the more people that are just saying, hey, this does this to me, oh, this does this, like you and I have been going back and forth for probably the past week, where last night I hit you up and I was like, oh, this thing's scanning and it's like not making sense of why it's saying this, right? But like, maybe that's just for me and that was just that one day or whatever, but like for you, it seems to be on point all the time. It might just be because like I'm not as aware of myself or as in touch with my surroundings and frequencies and energy as you are, maybe, or
I don't know. It's all an experiment. Like to me, I am 100% skeptical and open for all of the, shooting the holes in whatever. I think that um, I did that for 2 years, like questioned it. And, like I said, me and Melissa used it. We use it all the time, in our daily lives now in a way that makes sense. And I don't question it anymore. I used to do what you did, like you were saying, you like run in, you're scanning, like, why am I getting this? And I don't even have this program. And um, so maybe we should just go into that like a little bit, like, how just like the basic, like it comes out of the package and it's basically, these two wires that go to two wristbands, and it delivers the frequencies to the wristbands, which um, can measure resonant frequencies within your body in real time and then give you the frequencies that you need through the actual device here, which is a transmitter. So it's got two cables, they're going to the wrist. And my phone is the one that actually programs. Oh, look, it's 344, double numbers. My phone is actually the one that transmits the program to the device to then give it to my body. Now, if I go into my phone and I've got the app here, so this is like the suite of apps. We've got Healy
which
Analyzer,
ones do
and
you
then
have? I only have three.
Healy. Um, this pink app will sync up to the device, and that's the program I ran last. It will always come up first, the last program that you ran. And then this is basically the list of programs sets that you have. So there is a program set for everything. Remember when the iPhone first came out and they were like, there's an app for that, there's an app for that?
Mm.
There is a program for that for sure. So there is fitness apps, there is hair, skin, and beauty, there is learning apps if you're studying or something, there's pain apps, there's job and sleep apps, mental balance apps,
And then within these
bioenergetic.
apps, it goes into more detail. So if it's like back pain,
Right.
or like leg pain,
Yes.
you know.
So if I go into like the job, sleep, these are the programs within that: activation and positive thoughts and extreme stress. That's an amazing one. Fatigue. That's an amazing one. Um,
Why don't you
the
go
job.
into like the residence one so you can kind of, because this
Right.
is how you showed me how to use it. You go to the residence one and then you scan yourself first.
Yeah. So the Resonance app is another app that works with the program. So as you run the Resonance app, it's going to do a real time scan on your body's bioenergetic field, and
Or
then tell you which program you need to run. So there's a aura analysis and a resonance analysis. Joe, you have the coaching program as well. So
Mhm.
there's a lot here, and I don't want to overwhelm people, but you add your name in, and it records your field. So when you record your bioenergetic field, it's basically like your fingerprint of energy. And once it has that, you put it in your right hand and you hold it and record your vibration. Then you will be listed here. So I'm just gonna look for my Healy, look for Bluetooth devices, scanning, and then I choose my device. It scans because my wife has one too, so you can link up to multiple devices if you want, once you have a Healy. And then
Oh,
these are all the programs.
real quick question. I was thinking because my wife has wants to use it as well. So if she gets the app, can she just use the same Healy? And okay, because I
Yep,
was thinking she had
totally.
to use my phone, but
Yeah, me and Melissa did that for the first year, and then we got tired of sharing it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, okay.
But yeah, so I'm going to choose all Healy programs, and then I'm going to start analysis. And then basically, it has you kind of focus in on the phone, and you just say, I kind of say in my head, what programs do I need right now? And I know that sounds kind of hokey, but we know that when you put an intent into something, that it has an effect. So I try and just kind of put it out there. Um, and now it looks like the first thing that came up for me is the Healy Meridians 2 programs, followed by the gold cycle. So if you see the percentages, um, the highest percentage on top
It's very
uh,
cool.
is the one that it's suggesting you do the most, because it's saying that that's what you need the most.
No, I'm saying sorry. I mean, it doesn't really matter, but your screen is flipped or whatever, so everything's backwards.
Is it really? So the whole time I've been doing this, it's been backwards?
Yeah, but before it didn't matter because it was just the programs on it. It didn't matter, but now it's like we're trying to read it.
Oh no.
You know what? We're gonna do a whole like a
A
yeah
live
20 minute
scan. Yeah.
30 live with the screen share of the phone. So we'll post that down the road here soon.
Yeah. This is just kind of like going through it to see the experience, I guess. So, um, I've just done the all Healy programs with my energy, and then it said, you need the Meridians 2 right now. So I'm going and seeing, as we know, within each of the program sets is more programs. So I'm running it one more time with my energy and saying, hey, what programs do I need within the Meridians 2?
Hmm.
And it says spleen, pancreas. Now, usually when I do this with people, they're like, what's wrong with my spleen or pancreas? And this is going off of the Chinese meridians in your body. So the theory is that Chi, or your body's energy, runs through energetic channels through your body called meridians. Those meridians run throughout your body. So the spleen and the pancreas is not like in Western's mind, you think my spleen or pancreas. It's more like what the system of the spleen and pancreas is running in your body, what that's connected to, and then what that does for you on a physical level, on an emotional level, and then even on a spiritual level. And that is Chinese medicine. It goes deep. Um, so it's saying run the spleen pancreas program. So I go back into my Pink app, reconnect to the Healy with the new program, and now I'm going to go into Meridians 2. There's Meridians 2, and I'm going to run spleen pancreas. When you start, now this is where it's actually transmitting to the device during this period. So I don't know if you can
Yeah,
see
is
it.
it like it's sending that program to the device?
Right.
So the
So this
device
is like
doesn't hold any of the programs. Everything is from the app, and then
the device is just a receiver of the one program and then a transmitter of that one program to your body. But
mm,
it's not holding all of them because the phone holds it all. And this is also like what I was saying before is with technology where we've come with the smartphone. I mean, this is a mini computer. Like what you had before to do this to do this treatment is to go in a room with a doctor, a practitioner, clinician that was delivering the frequencies to you using a machine that was the size of a room
mm.
because everything was analog. Now it's digital to an analog device that's hooked to your body. So now it starts at 15%, and I always recommend just kind of going up slowly until you start to feel it. Right now, I'm already feeling this buzzing in my fingertips, in my wrists, in my arms. And as I go up, it gets more and more intense. Um, it's not always about how intense you do it because it's just as effective at 15% as it is at 100%, they say. But for me, I do like to feel that. I like to feel the energy running through my system. And
Just as effective, they say. There's no difference.
yeah,
Really,
because it works on the basis of resonance, which means that um,
there's no volume to it, right? It's just it is what it is.
it's resonating with your cells, and it's a chain reaction like dominoes through your whole body.
Mm.
Um, I do feel like the higher it is, the more I can feel it,
Aaliyah's the same
the
way.
better it
She
is.
wants to feel it, and I'm like, because there is a switch, right? You showed me where you can go to high, was it the higher voltage or something like that, right? And
Right.
so I had
Higher
it
low.
a while, and Aaliyah likes it like that, but I don't because if you're running, for me, this is only for me. If I'm running like 3 or 4 programs a day, after the last one, like my forearms were like getting sore, and I did get like a little thing on my arm. It was weird. So it's like there's definitely stuff happening, but like I
Oh
had to
yeah.
get down to the lower voltage, and now I can run a bunch of them. And
Right. And I think an important, okay, first, I do say drink a lot of water when you're doing the treatment because it's energy running through your body, and water is a great conductor. So I do feel like the more water I have, and if I drink water while I'm doing it, I feel it more, number one. Number two, I think it's important to point out that this is completely different if people out there know what a TENS unit is. A TENS unit is often used with pads that go onto your body and deliver a specific frequency for pain. And you can feel that vibration and heat going through your body because it is frequency. This is completely different. As this is running, this is changing frequencies in real time um, to mirror what my body needs. Um, Within this program, there is a select set of frequencies that they know run well with the spleen, pancreas, meridian in your body. So over time, it gets more and more specific. In the first 10 minutes of the program is really uh, it figuring out which frequencies you need and then which ones they're going to give to you for the rest of the treatment.
Mm.
So as you'll see over time, I'll put it back up. There'll be a percentage on the bottom, and it will say like 65% of 220.4 hertz, and that means that you're 65% of the way to getting that frequency
Oh,
filled up in your body. Once you're
well, I
done,
was
it's going to
wondering.
move on to the next one,
Okay,
and
okay.
then the next one. And so that's why every treatment is going to be different that you do for you in that moment in time. It'll never be the same. It's it's always real time. So like if
I
you ran this
okay.
program right after me, it would be completely different frequency sets,
Yeah.
probably in a different order, maybe even completely different frequencies.
I have a quick question. So, how did they like? How do they determine? So I know there's like a liver program. This is just an example, right? How do they know what frequencies the liver needs?
A lot of testing in a lab.
What
I
are they
don't.
listening to the sound or like they're measuring the frequencies that come off of a human liver that's in your body?
I mean, I couldn't answer that specifically. I would that would be a rabbit hole that we could go down.
Mm,
But I definitely I remember when I was in college and I was really interested in cymatics and was going down the the rabbit hole of thinking, okay, if these geometric shapes can happen with resonance out in the open, and then we see it in nature with the geometric patterns, then what would happen if you did this to the human body? And me thinking that was an original thought, but someone's actually spent lifetimes figuring that out, trying to. So there's tons of researchers out there that have come up with their own version of what they think works for organs within the body and different parts of your body, skin, hair, nails, because everything on our body isn't the same. It all has different resonant frequencies. So how they've come up with it, I don't know. I know Nuno Nina, the one that's come up with these gold frequencies from Portugal. I would love to sit down and pick his brain. Um, we'll have him on the show sometime, right?
mhm, mhm. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, that's what I was wondering the other day. I was like, what? How do they know what frequencies I need?
I
For
mean, I imagine they would take a cross section of a liver and figure out what the liver enzymes look like, and then run frequency programs on liver cells to see, how they act or react or don't act or react. Because I know that, like with cymatics on the metal plate, it only is a specific frequency, and that's the key to resonance is that you can have that metal plate and like I did this in a lab. We put the sand on the metal plate and then there was a dial of the frequencies and the frequencies literally go from like 1 to 1.1, 1.2, 1.3. You know what I mean? Like it's very specific. So those geometric pictures only happen at resonant frequencies. So like it's you're going, it's
has to
static.
resonate with a piece of metal on there, right?
Right.
So it depends on what
The
thickness metals,
material is.
what type of material, right? Yeah, yeah.
Right. Every single material out there in nature has a resonant frequency, and it's different for everything because everything is different. Like a plant leaf is different to my skin, different to my hair, different to the chair.
Although they're all the same atoms,
Down
it's
to
just
it, they are all atoms. Yeah.
together in different ways, right?
Right.
Like
But
I
it's
always wondered that.
assembled differently.
How does my nail cell know to be hard, and then right next to it, it's a like my skin cell and it's soft. Like how does it know that, right? We need to get
Well,
Dr.
here's some
expert.
Have you heard of Dr. Joe Dispenza?
No.
So he is, I don't even know where to begin with him, but he's amazing. I've read a couple of his books, um, Becoming Superhuman, and um, what is it? Oh my gosh. It's basically
Call you up
uh,
to be so
for,
pissed off.
forgetting, oh man, it's becoming breaking bad habits or breaking, what is it? Anyways,
Anyway.
his whole premise is that because we are all energy and because energy informs matter, meaning you have to, in a scientific lab, we know that if we can create energy in a lab, that energy can then change matter. That's what alchemy is. You know, like you can heat up water and it boils. You can burn gas and then, it goes from a plasma to a gas. You can burn a piece of wood and then it becomes smoke. It's transformation. You're changing the molecules. You are scientifically changing one form of matter into another form of matter. So we know that our body has the capability to change matter as well. So how far you want to take that down the rabbit hole, you can take that. But I think this is the beginning of a conversation. And if you're a curious person, I think it's the beginning of a lifetime of where we're at in science and spirituality and this gap that we're bridging and figuring out just what we are as humans. We're still, it's still uh what's the word, a frontier.
Yeah, listen, I was just listening to you and I was like thinking that it could be quite possible that something like cancer is the most simplest form of what we're talking about of mind being able to mutate cells in your body, right? Like if you're overly stressed or whatever, you can actually create cancer in your body in certain areas. Am I correct?
I'm not a doctor,
We're not doctors here, so we don't know anything.
but I mean, I would say that that is a pretty
That's what they're finding out, I believe.
that is a valid hypothesis, is what I would say for that.
Through all this research and stuff, I mean, and I mean, we clearly kind of believe that type of stuff. I mean, it can also happen on the other side too, right? Like you can do the opposite, which is what we're talking about right now. We're talking about literally doing the opposite. So if you believe what we're talking about, that you can heal the body and mutate cells in a positive way to do what you want or be the most efficient, then it can you can also do the opposite and create mutated cells that go into that create cancers and other things in your body.
There you go. And I think that's a lot of the premise behind epigenetics, which is, I think, what Dr. Joe Dispenza is really into, is that his theory is that we are not our genes. We are not just our genes. And that there is an element that we do have a control over. And that is, they've taken experiments where, twins, one is really healthy and working out and eating healthy, and the other one is eating processed foods and not working out. And the end result is completely different, but the genes are the same. So, we are more than our genes, and I believe that. And but the science behind that and how deep that goes is a whole nother story, because a lot of people will say, oh, you're predisposed to this, you're predisposed to this, you have this gene, so you're going to get this or this or that. And there's a lot of research to support that too. But if you were to really go in and then say, all right, um, this person that's predisposed to this with this gene, and then this person that's predisposed to this with this gene, what if we do the study there and then see, I don't know, who knows. I think that we're at this point where it is a conversation that real valid science is having.
check it out. This is why I love
whatever real valid science is.
this is why I love like that we decided to do this, because it, for me, whenever I find something that is like almost like infinite, you can continuously do research and find different things and have different opinions and stuff like that. And it's like there's validity to it, but there's this other side that we haven't like figured out yet. It's like we can do this podcast forever because that's how detailed and intricate it is. And it's like we almost need to have this type of podcast and put out this information for people to understand it enough to for it to um, be more effective for them. You know, if they decide to buy a Healy, you know.
Well, and I think that we're constantly, you know, pushing our limits because that's the type of people that we are. We're always asking questions, always, you know, jumping down rabbit holes. And I love that that is our friendship that we've had since day one. Like, we're like, let's figure this out. You know,
Literally,
I
this is
don't know.
how we really started this podcast, was because me and David talk. We have these conversations every day. We would be, if we weren't recording this right now, we would just be on the phone or on FaceTime having the same exact conversation.
Yeah, it's
So
true. 100% true.
this is what we've been doing for years. So we thought that, you know, once the David introduced me to the Healy, this is a great opportunity for us to, you know, talk about what we talk about anyways in a productive way that could maybe help others um, understand themselves better, or utilize this device more efficiently.
Well, and I also didn't say like why isn't this at Walmart or why isn't this, you know, readily available? And it's because this is only in like still the year and a half phase in America, and this is a German device, and a lot of Eastern Europeans have had this technology for a long time, but this is fairly new to America. So I think for me, because I'm so interested in this science in general, that and I like running experiments on myself. Like I'm constantly trying new diets or trying this new shake or this new health food, or I just like to try new things and give it a go, see what a month does. That's kind of like what me and my wife do all the time. And this to me was it's been 2 years now and I'm like, okay, it's a real thing. Something's happening here to me and it's good and I want to share this and be that guy, I guess. I'll be that guy, like
Yeah,
shouting
so
from the
this is
like
definitely is definitely a project slash experiment with the two of us and whoever else comes on here. We're all kind of like figuring this out together. I think Healy has done a great job of like creating this device and getting it to where it's at right now. But I think the evolution of this over the next like, you know, 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now, that you might not even need an app anymore or something, or it just automatically scans and it just knows and it just shoots it into you. You just wear it all day long, and you know, who knows? Who knows where this thing's going?
the
But
possibilities truly are limitless and endless. And the guys that are in charge of this are like Marcus Schmieke, who we heard speak today. He's a monk and a physicist, and he's the most compassionate person and also the most scientific person put into one human body. And it's just amazing to see that they are really trying to push the envelope of technology and spirituality and are willing to have those conversations and willing to put money out there, put their mouth where their money is, or put their money where their mouth is. And
I think
yeah,
for Healy, like you said, it's a German company. They're, as far as America goes, and launching this in America, like what, a year and a half ago, you know, it seems like there's like a bit of a like a cultural barrier and a language barrier, even just like, you know, just how we communicate over here as opposed to there. And that's another reason why we started this as well. We want, you know, Americans to understand in kind of their way of how this thing works, and that's kind of what me and David are trying to do here. We're trying to just give it to them straight and tell them all like the pros and the cons about it, and hopefully this helps people
Yeah,
learn
and
everything.
one thing I will say too about that is, like, look, Americans in general, I would say, are very impatient, and we do not generally speak more than one language. And
That's
across this company, some of these guys are speaking three and four languages, like, and fluently. And so for them to like stumble on a couple of words because they're doing a PowerPoint in English, I'm like, I don't even care because I barely even speak English well.
yeah, like you and I can see past that, but like I always try and put my brain into the person that may or may be skeptical about this thing or whatever, and that person is like, this is already like super complicated, and now I can kind of barely understand what this guy's saying, and then they just shut it off. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So so yeah, well, hopefully what we're doing is kind of bridging that gap. Um,
The language barrier. We're trying to really Americanize it so that people can understand it in America.
like yeah, I mean,
Because I needed to do it for myself.
hopefully we can have some of those guys on, and then they can still explain themselves and stuff like that. I mean, obviously, all of their information is out there. Their YouTube videos and webinars and all this other stuff. That's constantly going on and whatever. And you're more than welcome to go out there and find that stuff. It's all like through the Healy website, right, and whatnot.
Yeah, check out the Healy website. Look at live events. They always have online events, and most of them are free.
Hmm.
Some of them are for members only.
Yeah,
But become a member.
we have a link on our Facebook and the YouTube page um, here or wherever. I don't know. I like to try to. It's right here.
You don't even know what it's going to be.
Right there. Yeah. So yeah, go check them out. But yeah, like we're just trying to bridge that gap and kind of just give it to you straight as ordinary people. Yes, we're not doctors or scientists, but we do have sound engineering degrees. And David, a little bit more. What type of degrees do you have as far as frequencies and sound and whatnot?
I mean, I have a physics degree in sound and in engineering, and I also have a cross cultural musical studies degree that I bet you didn't even know I had. Which I thought
Stuff
for
that
a period.
nobody thought like anybody would ever utilize.
Well, I know what I thought when I was in college. I thought it was so there was a lot of cross cultural music studies that I did, courses that I did, and like African music and Caribbean music and South American music, Native American music, and it was so fascinating. Australian music, like I could not get enough of music from around the world, and we're talking like the authentic like original recordings of some of the amazing different music across the world, like Indian music, like those vibrations, that sound to me. And that a lot of it originated from like sacred ceremonial perspectives. It wasn't like pop music where you've got like WAP and everyone's dancing to it. It was like, I'm gonna play this tone and this person's gonna chant over it, and all these people are just like gonna get into it. That's the origination of music, was spiritual healing, vibration, and all of that. And so that to me was so fascinating, and going down that whole road of really opening my eyes, because I do love Fleetwood Mac, the Eagles, and some of the crazy ass dirty music as well. But you
That's
know,
crazy that if you think about it now, that we both on literally two opposite sides of the country. You're from Washington State. I'm from Rhode Island. We were doing our things all the way up until our early 20s, and it was like all about music and just like going with the flow and whatever. And then we met in Florida via frequencies essentially because that's what kind of motivated us both to go to Full Sail. And here we are,
Yeah.
full circle, talking about
Yeah. I
frequencies.
mean, that's
You
what
know why we were doing it.
essentially audio engineering.
But now you look
What?
back, you're like, okay, that makes sense of why we were doing that. Maybe it was
Yeah.
to bring us together here. Who knows?
To talk about frequencies for the rest of our life.
Yeah. I do got to get going. Baby's awake,
Yeah, me too.
but yeah, this is a good one, I
I,
think.
yeah. All
And
right, y'all.
yeah, stay. So we're going to do an. I mean, it's going to be within the next couple of videos. We're going to do like a full on show you how to go through like opening the box into setting it up and going through the whole process. And besides that, we're going to have other videos. We're going to have guests on, and then it's a lot of this what we did today.
Yep.
So stay tuned.
Yep. So I hope y'all got something from this, and we'll be doing more. So peace and love.
Peace.